But I wanted to bring up Sarah Lang, who is the coordinator director of the Southern Vermont Economic Project, which is allowing us to do this today through funds and just through support. So Sarah, if you want to say a couple words about the program, why we're doing this, and what people can look forward to in the future.
Great, thanks Matt. So like you said, my name is Sarah Lang. I work at the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, which is one of the 12 regional development corporations here in Vermont. So Bennington County Industrial Corporation, they're sort of our sister organization over here. The Southern Vermont Economy Project, which is the program that I run, is funded by the USDA Rural Development. I work in Bennington County and Windham County with organizations such as the Chamber to help build capacity. And so one of those ways that we can build capacity is through sort of training the trainer. And one of the things that the program offers is to support our partners in the grant in doing workshops that they want to put on, that they know that their beneficiaries need. Hence, Matt saying, this is what my people need. And so, that's the grant is helping to support that. And we do all sorts of other trainings. For instance, on Friday, we're having a connectivity summit. So a lot of town leaders, I think we're up to 40 now, are coming to Mount Snow to really talk about the connectivity issue in southern Vermont. I'm sure you're well aware of it. Yeah, we're just trying to get some momentum and get people on the same page. So one save the date that you might be interested in is May 23rd. Way out there.
Started early.
But we're going to have our third annual Southern Vermont Economy Summit. This is a partnership between Bennington County and Windham County. We'll be at Mount Snow, and there's going to be a bunch of different tracks for town representatives, for small businesses, for large businesses. Hopefully we can cover the gamut as far as the economy goes, and it's really supposed to just be a great way to bring people together and learn some things about what's happening and what we can do. And I think that's it.
Great. Thanks. Give Sarah a round of applause. She went over Woodford Mountain today to get here. So sometimes it's technological connectivity, sometimes it's just road connectivity that we struggle with. So most of you know me, but for those that don't, I'm Matt Harrington. I'm the Executive Director at the Chamber of Commerce, both here in Bennington and Manchester and the region. Interestingly enough, we've taught a version of this, I think, 3 to 4 times in the last 6 months. And so that's why I reached out to Sarah saying, look, even though we keep doing these, people keep wanting to learn more and more. And I think watching what the Chamber does, I think we have a young, fresh, modern group that's trying to push the envelope on how we market tourism and economic development in southern Vermont. So I'm hoping to kind of give you some of that knowledge today. Again, it's only an hour. I will make a promise to everybody, and I did it last time I did this workshop, and 2 and 3 people followed up with me. I will sit down with you after this if you want to really work on this plan. You will see that this presentation, because I only have an hour, is very macro. It's about getting you into the belief of it. Some of the tips and tactics that we do, but you really got to believe this stuff. So if you walk out of here and say, that's bogus, I don't believe that, that's fine by me. We'll keep on doing what we do, and you keep on doing what you do. But if you do find, wow, that's something really interesting, and I'd love to sit down with Matt for another hour or 2, I will make myself available to everybody in this room to do that, because I believe so strongly in marketing. Just to give a heads up, Cat TV, because of some funding through Sarah and her group, will be broadcasting live. So this will be recorded. It's live right now on the Chamber Facebook page. Again, I think just trying to push the boundaries of how do we educate our members and how do we educate our community. One of the ways is to come here and have us provide a workshop for you. The other way is going to be digitally, where we are sharing it live as well for the people that can't make it here today, because they are running their businesses. And we've had a couple people say that. My staff didn't show up. I said, don't worry, tune into Facebook. We'll do it there as well, but also providing a recording of it too. And so I think the Chamber wants to explore more and more partnerships with Cat TV in providing these opportunities for you as well. Let me give you a little bit of reason why we're doing this, kind of set the stage here. Yes, we've heard from a lot of our members. We're going to get to a little bit in the presentation. Marketing is huge. But I also think that there's been a fundamental shift in marketing that has happened over the last 10, 15 years. I'm sure you have all heard of it. It's really revolving around digital and social marketing. And unfortunately, I still think that Southern Vermont's a little bit behind the times, especially some of our small business owners, in how to execute on these. They know it. It's there. They share their favorite cat video. They share their favorite Thanksgiving turkey, but they don't know how to execute it on business. And so I'm hoping today that we discuss that just a little bit. But before we get started, I want you got some Postits there. Let's talk about the big elephant in the room. What are you struggling with in terms of marketing? Doesn't just have to be social, digital. It could be the press doesn't, publish my stuff. Advertising in the paper is too expensive. I'm not getting the audience I want. So let's just take a minute or two and write them down. You can write them with big markers or some of your pens. This will just get the brain going and really get you situated. Let me also make a note. Yes, my phone number is here. This is a very bold move that I'm doing right now. I saw it done at a conference a couple months ago. I thought it was really neat. There's going to be a huge amount of time that I'm just going to be up here in what we call Ask the Director. If you don't want to raise your hands, I know we have some introverts in the room, you're nervous about asking that, the hard question or the bad question, you can send a text to that. I will read it. I won't know your number because I don't know many of your phone numbers, so it'll just come over and I will delete it after this workshop, I promise. But that just kind of helps you. If you're not one to raise your hand or be bold or anything like that in public, I'm happy to provide a way for you to do that privately. Because that's the purpose of what we're doing here today. It's really where my heart is in terms of the chamber, where my heart is in terms of the marketing that's happening is to make you guys successful. So who has a couple? I'm just going to grab them and we're actually going to put them up on this board. I'm going to call it challenges. Where's my pen here? And I want you, who would be willing to read one or two of theirs off? So everybody's going to text me? Go ahead, Jonah.
Competition from online shopping.
Yeah. Yep. So just pass yours forward. Thanks, Mike. Mike, did you want to read yours?
The big one for me is entering new platforms, so all the different types of social media.
Okay, and I can also read these off as you pass them up if you want. Dara?
Creating content.
Creating content. Good one. Yep. James?
Reaching real customers versus followers.
Sure. Yep, the conversion. Great. Can I read yours? You want to read it?
I'll read it. My services are difficult to explain concisely.
Gotcha. Okay. So the narrative, how we're creating the conversation. Who else? Yeah.
How to reach people that could use my help versus because I'm a health coach. I'm
Yep.
a massage therapist. But mainly I'm going towards health coaching because how do you reach these?
How to reach them.
How to reach people? How do I?
Yep.
I mean, I'm having this launch party type.
Great. Good start.
Post-holiday detox over at Oasis actually on January 12th, which is a Saturday, and it's just how do I reach people? How
Yeah.
do I get
So
to market?
we'll talk about that in here. Hopefully that'll help. And did you write that down anywhere? I want to make sure I'm collecting all of them.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Janica?
Figuring out where to focus my energy, time, money.
Yep. Huge one.
Having just an overall strategy.
Good. Good. Who else? Pass them forward. Say them out loud.
And measuring success in marketing. How do you measure?
Yeah. Yep. Kevin?
Mine was a lot what somebody else said.
Okay.
It's just attracting the right type of customer that's interested.
Yep. Yeah. Here's a good one. Keeping up with engagements on social media. I mean, what happens once you start to engage them? What happens when they start to DM you, which is direct message? How do you do with that? Consistently attracting interesting prospects who have a desire to purchase my services. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we're all here.
Knowing which platform is right for me, Instagram, Facebook, blog, etc.
Good. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So I want you to keep some of these questions in mind because I really tried hard this seminar after a couple of the other ones to provide a lot of time for us to talk about those things, and I'm hoping that we can exercise that in the second portion of today. Other ones that I didn't get?
Just to focus specifically on your target audience, especially social
Yep.
media. media where you can reach a whole bunch of people? but
Reach it
not
all.
who you want to-
Yep. There's something I could go back. So I ran marketing for a small business leadership firm in North Bennington for 5 years, doing a lot of these social media tactics. One of the things I wish I could go back and do is create a niche. We were everything to everybody. And I think that was some of the reason why we didn't get as much success. We grew our website, we got a good couple contracts, but if we had just focused on the one thing that we were really, really good at, we could have probably, doubled, tripled down on it. Anything else that I missed? And again, keep them or text them to me as we move forward in today's workshop. Here's what I want to encourage everybody here today. You're not alone in this. This is from our State of the Commerce survey. 46% of the regional chambers believe that this is the #1 challenge for small business, marketing. Not healthcare, not paying staff, not teaching staff, not finding staff. Marketing. Making yourself aware to your market. Regional chamber members preferred social media as their #1 marketing tool. I thought that was new. That probably has shifted. I think even when we first started doing some of these analysis, I think print media was big when we first started, definitely 5, 10 years ago. It's interesting that, and I see that. I guess I would say I see that as I'm on Facebook and Instagram. There are a lot of people that have hopped on in the last 2 years. And then I thought this was just interesting, a little bit to Jonah's point, but 58% of the regional chambers do some sort of business online. That's not marketing, but they do. They have diversified because they realize I can't compete in a 1999 world when it's 2018, so I have to diversify a little bit of my revenue streams and how I'm attracting businesses. So today's agenda. I want to get through a lot of this. Identify the problem and the shift that's occurring. And everybody has these, I've gone to a bunch of these where they're like, can you send the PowerPoints after? Yeah, but you want them now, and you want to write on them, and you want to write notes. And so I'm hoping that helps you a lot as we kind of go over. Identify the problem and shift occurring. Discuss the philosophy needed to move forward. Organize your marketing efforts. And ask or text the director, like I said. So hopefully, from over here, it sounds like we might answer the beginning part of those conversations. 2 things I want to mention. That exercise where you kind of wrote down and we shared with one another, it's called social learning. You will learn 80% of what you know today from social learning. Peer-to-peer, talking, discussion. That's why we put so much on the back end of Ask the Director. You only learn 10% from me being up here. You only walk away with 10% of what I say. You might remember 1 or 2 things from today. You can go back and watch it on Facebook. You can watch it in repetition. You might get a little bit more. But the bar is pretty much at 10% that, but 70 to 80% in social learning, which is kind of fascinating. So work with your peers. Work with me. That's kind of why we're here today. The other thing I want to bring up, and I want to ask your permission, I think I want to take the gloves off a little bit in terms of marketing and small business today. I think, sometimes we can be the nice director and say everybody's doing fine and I think you're doing great and you're going to sell more product and that's awesome. But today I think you are all here really wanting to understand what else could I do for my business. And I'm here to help you do that. Some of that means we have to have a tough coming to Jesus moment on maybe a couple things that we're all doing wrong, differently, challenging. So is that okay if I kind of take the gloves off a little bit? I'll put them back on for the annual dinner, which everybody should be going to. But for today, I think for your worth, for my worth, let's have some tough conversations in this room. Would that be okay? I need affirmation that that's okay, or else I'm not going to do it. I'll put the gloves back on. Good. So here's what I see as the problem, and we're going to start really macro, okay? I think half the problem, we got online sales, we've got the fact that we're in southern Vermont, we have the bypass locally here in Bennington, those are all problems. I don't think they're inconquerable problems, as we've conquered many things in the existence of humanity. I think we've accomplished things in the last 20 years based on new marketing and new business ventures. We'll talk a little bit about that. So I don't think the bypass is the actual problem. I don't think that online versus retail, brick and mortar stores are the problem, because as you see now, Amazon is buying up brick and mortar stores. Yes, they have the muscle, the might to do that. But interesting that now they have kind of reversed their business model to start making Amazon stores, because they know that human interaction is what we're all looking for. And so going into a store and buying that book and buying that product still means something. I think one of the biggest problems we're having, and I want to encourage you all today, I'm here to encourage you, but also to speak some truth. We do not encourage enough a culture of innovation, creativity, speed to market, pivoting, and failure.
What do you mean by pivoting?
When we find something that isn't working,
Just ditch it.
or you turn left, okay, what do we take from that lesson? Let's move forward on this way. What did we find out if Facebook didn't work for us, but Instagram is getting us some more likes and some more engagement? Pivoting away from Facebook, pivoting away from Snapchat, if that isn't working for you, changing. And I think the big thing here is the market won't wait for you. And we already see that in Southern Vermont. The market could care less. If you're in Southern Vermont or Southern California, if you have what I want, I'm going to buy it from you. If you don't have what I want, or I don't know how to get a hold of that information, I'm not going to buy it from you. I think that's kind of the basis of some business. So I want to encourage you, come with an open mind. Let's talk about some innovation. Let's talk about some creativity. I think specifically here for marketing, we must relearn how to communicate our core narrative. We're going to talk a little bit about narrative with new tools and systems. We are currently in a time when media and storytelling have become so affordable and compelling. Here's the best thing that happened to small business: social media. Here's the worst thing that happened to small business: social media. You can either live or die by it. Social media and digital marketing, we can kind of lump those all into inbound marketing. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Is either a curse or a blessing. You can either kill it on social media, or you can be hurt by it. And I think we have tales of both of those stories. And then here's my fundamental belief with everybody in this room. Vermont is made of a bunch of pioneers, innovators. This is, like I said, the bypass, we've conquered bigger things than the bypass. Bigger things than downtown being empty. We've conquered bigger things than that. So let's work very, very hard today and in the future, because I think we can do it better. Any questions so far on that? That's kind of the macro. That's the philosophy that I'm kind of coming in. This is the dissatisfaction with status quo, for those that know the change model. This is the D. It sucks out there. Help us. So let's talk a little bit about where the paradigm shifted. So about 20 years ago, Facebook was 2004, became a business, ability to get business on it in 2008, so we're talking about 10 years ago for that, but really email marketing and the beginning of digital came in on the late 90s. So here's the big paradigm shift. Here, and somebody brought it up, building the content. Here's what's awesome, here's what's horrible. You are now the publisher, editor, content creator, and distributor of your own fate and fortune. You don't have to wait for the New York Times to pick you up in a press release. You can post every single day, Facebook, blogging, build a podcast, create a TV show, either with Kat or by yourself with an iPhone. You can do all these things. The field is huge, and yet it's so hard to figure out where to go and how to do it. So I want to help you with some of that. This was first predicted in 1999, Cluetrain Manifesto. So if you want to really understand the macro of what's happening in business and the macro of what's happening in social media, Cluetrain Manifesto, good read. 1999 was when they first published. I think they've done a couple different ones. And pretty much what Cluetrain Manifesto said was, companies are getting so big that eventually the people in those countries that support those companies are going to find out that they're getting screwed over by CocaCola and GE and all these big players. In fact, they're going to start to turn away from the advertising, as we've seen as TV advertising attention goes down. Maybe not the purchase, because a lot of the big guys haven't shifted, they haven't pivoted yet to social. They will, and when that happens, your $2 boost will have to go up to $200 boost. So get on it now, but they'll pivot. But pretty much what happened in 1999, and as we saw, it fundamentally shifted so that we became the controllers of it. Small businesses became the controllers. You could compete, and that's where we see the growth of some of these newer brands that have come up out of kind of nowhere. Amazon was a bookstore online. Remember that? What they did, they tripled down on Facebook and Google AdWords when it first came out. Now they're the biggest company in the world. So let's build a philosophy. Like I said, we're going to start macro. You've got to believe this. And like I said, some of you may walk out of this and say that inbound stuff, not me, I don't have the time, I can't build the content. I want you to believe in yourself. Again, I will sit down with you. 90% is perspiration. 10% is how to do it and figure it out and build the calendar and put out pretty pictures. Those are actually finding the pretty pictures and having good design work. That's the easy part. It's just the repetition, the doing it every single day. That's the hard part, the perspiration. So let's build that philosophy. Narrative branding is what I call it. And here's how I define narrative branding. This is the brand that you're telling about your story. So you were talking about going to Oasis and that you're doing it after you're getting the, what do you call it?
Post-holiday detox. What I
Detox, perfect.
Everybody's looking to detox from the holidays, and what I'm going to be doing is basically setting someone up. I've lost 40 pounds just using whole food methods. I'm a graduate of the Institute for Integrative Nutrition and Health Coaching. I graduated in June. I'm having trouble getting this business off, this part of my business off.
But you're creating that narrative, right?
Yes.
You're creating the story of it. So this is where I would say,
that's what we're taught in school.
Yes.
But I'm looking for that next step, the next help. The fact that I have no money right now is not helping me, but I can do it with no money via social media.
And we're going to talk about some of the ways that I think you could do that very, very easily, or at least start.
And I also want to do some online health coaching as well.
Well, that's exactly where I would pivot you to a little bit of that. But the ongoing effort by a brand to continually tell the story of how each person that comes into contact with that brand needs to have a sense of belonging to the product and or service, which enhances that person's existence and experience. CocaCola does that very well. Pick up a Coke, it's got that red, it's got the Santa Claus on it, it reminds me of nostalgia, it reminds me of old Vermont. I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to drink it, it feels good, it tastes good. And so what I want to encourage you to start thinking about, each one of you have a business, or each one of you are here today, start to think about your narrative. It's not just bring you Vermont, that's the brick and mortar. What is the belief that you and Ryan and all the kids started out with? We provide Vermont-made products. We're one of the only places, at least in southern Vermont, perhaps all of Vermont, that offers only that. I could see a whole TV series on that. Each day, we're going to take one of your products. Heather, how many products do you have in the store?
Over 1,500.
There's 1,500 shows right there. You looking for content? You could do a 5-minute Facebook Live, or you could work with Cat TV, or do it on your own, have your kids do it. Some of it's just the perspiration of it.
In our narrative, you sometimes follow us.
Yep.
Consistently on all platforms, it's you feel like you're at your grandma's, you feel like your family, you're around your families, and that's what we're about. That's what we believe in.
Yep.
And you just have to continually have that conversation when you bring in a new product, when you bring in a new platform even, does this fit with who we are and our
brand.
It's not just our image yet, it's our brand.
And I know Ryan's been big on that. So and for you it might be, now you've got that narrative, it might be tripling down on the content production. So once we kind of have built that base level, where some people I think fail, where they're like, I tell the story 3 times a year. Yeah, remember people are deploying 5 to 6 things a day now. So how do we do the little incremental things where I can't bring you Vermont out of my mind this holiday season? I have to go down because she has talked about 4 or 5 things I want to pick up. Here are some great examples. I'm not going to go into detail. Apple, obviously the biggest. I'm not going to use them from a social media perspective, but I will use them from a narrative branding. I think you should measure or look at your benchmarks, look at who are doing it best, and kind of work with that philosophy in mind. So Forbes #1 brand in the world, valued at, and it is the biggest biggest company in the entire world of all time at $182 billion, and that's up 8%. But I think where Apple really did it right, and anybody that's an Apple using product, and Google, you could probably talk to the same, and Android a little bit, but it's the emotional connection. When I walk in, it just looks superior. The design looks superior. The customer service I get, the Genius Bar, or now they're even walking around. From start to finish, when I walk in there, it's a Mac experience. It's an Apple experience.
And for me, the Apple platform, because I have a learning disability, is probably one of the iOS operating systems, is probably the most
easy, simple. It's simple. That's one of their biggest brands. Simple, easy to use. You can open it. You don't have to download Microsoft. You don't have to download,
yeah.
Easy. There you go. On that, so now you're wedded to that brand. Starbucks, a little bit of the same thing. Passionate purveyor of coffee, Starbucks in every corner now. But not only did they make coffee really well, they made their coffee shop experience very well too. So when I talk to some of our members, it's not just the product you're selling. How do I walk in and get that experience too? I keep nagging Bennington Potters that they need to open up a cupcake bar and a wine bar so that when I go there and I'm shopping for pottery, I get a cupcake from Janica, and then I get a glass of wine, and I'm walking around, and I have an experience when I walk into Bennington Potters. We're resting a little bit on our laurels, and our laurels are still strong. That's what's great about Vermont. You want to know why people keep coming here? And I go to travel shows all over the place. They don't care about New Hampshire. They don't really care about even Maine. They want to go to Vermont because Vermont's on their bucket list. Why? Because you have 250 years of laurels, of good things. We believe in brand quality and customer service and that charming feeling. So how do we triple down on that experience so when I go to the Bennington Potters, I'm in Vermont. I feel good. Oh, it's handmade, and I'm getting a cupcake and a glass of wine. This is terrific. I'm going to tell 5 of my friends about that. I'm going to take a picture and upload it on Instagram about it. I put NPR up there. I always like, because some people say, oh, well, Starbucks and Apple. You know, modern kids, millennials, they love that stuff. NPR is pretty incredible. Here's a dying industry in a fake news era that just raised $200 million in revenue, $260 million in endowment. They're ranked as number 10 out of all of them, out of Coke, Amazon, Starbucks, for brands that matter, for offering a safe space to show quality or to tell quality storytelling. It can be done. It doesn't just have to be Coke. It doesn't just have to be a physical product. It doesn't have to be just customer to customer, but it can be customer to brand or business to customer as well. Okay, so creating. Here are some of the key things that I want to hit upon. Here's what we've tried to do at the Chamber. Here's what I've tried to do at other places. Creating a workplace and team that's flexible. It is about finding some of those content producers and aligning your budget. Here's the scary thing that a lot of people don't do. They know Facebook kind of works. They know that boosting. They see the ROI of boosting. It's right there. It tells you how many people it reached. And then we go, so you're going to take your money away from print ad? No, because I've always done print ad. What's the ROI of print ad? I don't know. I just know people see it. Do they? Because I imagine a lot of people are flipping through the banner, not looking at a lot of those. We know Facebook works, but the scary part is to actually take the budget, whatever budget we give ourselves, $200 a year, $2,000, $20,000, and actually pivot and put it into those things. That's the perspiration part. Inspiration's already there. You know, I mean, it's 2018. Am I speaking anything different than anybody knows? Everybody knows that Facebook kind of works, right? We got boosting. We've got those things. Okay. So it's pivoting. Yeah.
About Facebook and the...
No, you have to wait till ask the director time. No.
So people are pulling away from Facebook.
Okay.
The younger crowd.
Okay. Yep.
Right? But you still feel that it is definitely a place to invest time and energy.
It's huge. It's the behemoth. There's 3 behemoths in the room. They're the biggest ones. And as younger people pivot, which means you might have to go on a different platform, more grandparents get on it every single day. And to me, Dara, for your specific thing, yes, you need self-defense for an 18-year-old. You need self-defense for a 55-year-old. So who really cares? And I think for you, it's going to be the algorithm of how much time do I want to put in Facebook and how much time do I want to put in Instagram or Snapchat. I think the bigger thing, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about tools. I'll answer questions like that. Tools you can Google. You can figure out how to be on Facebook or Instagram. This is more about creating content. I would say develop 10 times more content and deploy it where you find it necessary. So you're going to put it on YouTube, then you're going to deploy it on Instagram, then you're going to deploy it on Facebook. And the thing we were just talking about, you know, if we, who was I talking to that we were going to make a big video and then chop it up, and Michael and I were talking about, you know, Michelle, taking some of our speaker series, you got these great speakers for an hour, and how many people go to YouTube or Facebook and sit there for a full hour and watch anything? Nobody. But if you could find 5 great segments and cut them up into 3-minute pieces, but it's aligning the talent to do that, and that's the hard part, and that's the thing you have to invest in. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Give permission to try new things. My board is great, my president being here, but my board is great at giving me, and Shannon, giving me permission to try new things. And there's the healthy friction, the tension. Are we sure we want to do this? It's money, and those are frictions, and I have to go prove it. But I think those frictions are good as well. Fail, but fail fast and learn from your mistakes. I always tell my staff, so a lot of people, to your point a little bit, I've talked to a couple people that run fitness programs. And I say, so you're getting up, and they say, how do you market? How could we ever market? How do we get to our things? And I say, oh, you start at least once a week. Do you do a Facebook Live for 5 minutes? No, I don't. I said, try that. Come back in 6 months. They come back in 6 months, and they say, how do we market? I mean, I just don't know how to get to. I said, oh, have you been doing the Facebook Live? Well, no, I never started. Okay, well, do that and come back. And we do this cycle about every 6 months. Baby innovations, baby steps. Just get on Facebook Live once a month.
What if you get nervous on Facebook, on lives, which I do? 'Cause
Yep.
I feel like, oh
Yep.
God.
Yeah, well, a couple answers, and I'm going to take off the gloves a little bit here. 2 answers to that is there are other platforms, so if you're a good writer, if you're a good speaker, and then I think the other hard thing is get your ego out of the way. This is running small business in 2018. So a little bit is you got to get on Facebook Live. And if you're nervous, go to a speech coach, get training on speaking up in front of people.
My husband and I are going to practice tonight.
And that's the best I could ask for you. Yep, just practice it. Get on it, and before you know it, it's going to roll off the tongue. And the first couple are going to look crappy. But here's the thing, there's so much content out there now. Again, we've got to be doing 10 times the amount of content. So if you put out 10,000 videos in 1 year, no one's going to care about the first 3 that are really bad, or the next 5, or the 10. Because if you're putting out 10,000 increments, I'm not talking 10,000 one-hour videos. Hi, Facebook Live, we've got Christmas trees down at the chamber, come and get them. The end. Which I should probably go back and do after this talk. James.
Do you know if there's a Toastmasters close by?
Probably closest would be in any type of anything like that or leadership would be Rutland or Albany. I know there's one in Albany. Saratoga. Yep. Pittsfield. So again, it's tough talk. It's small business. The market doesn't really care if you have a business or not. The market will go where the best product is and the best service is. So here's what I think is huge on narrative branding. Vulnerability, truth, and authenticity. You got to tell a true brand. Heather, we're a family business. We run this place. Hey, by the way, we also own a pizza shop next door. I mean, to me, the narrative is there. I'll buy from you just to support small business and to support the pizza shop. So I think, but you got to tell that vulnerability, the truth. Hey, we screwed up in our blog last week. Our bad. Our apologies. And the chamber has done that a couple different times. I want to move quickly forward. Gary Vaynerchuk, if you don't know him, Google him, YouTube him. Very, very prolific in this industry in terms of social media. Top 3 staff people you need. He thinks for marketing now, designer and photographer, videographer, and a writer. And so the chamber has aligned that to have, at this moment, a slew of freelance people that are both in design, photography, and videography, and content writing, because it is so huge. Now, as a small business owner, like who are some of our older entrepreneurs here, you had to figure out how to do QuickBooks. You had to figure out how to do a point of sale system. You had to do that. You may have to figure out how to write well, taking a writing course, how to speak well on a video, maybe do some production and design. But I do think, and I want to take a little bit of time to have a little exercise here, on your Post-it notes, where else do you think you can find talent? I'll give you one right now, the Chamber of Commerce. I gave everybody the open invite after this workshop to sit down with me for an hour or 2 and discuss your marketing plan. That's your first resource. What else is out there?
School.
Yep.
Schools.
Yep.
Grace Christian today. I've got 11 to 13-year-olds that want to help us do some.
It's perfect. Perfect. And here's where you'll come in. So I think there's always a plug of like, oh, those young people, they all know how to do all the skills except speak your narrative truth. You know your brand. So sometimes it's working with them. They know how to post on Facebook socially. It's about you teaching them how to do it business-wise.
We had
Good.
Give one more little plug.
Yeah.
We had, we're Alliance Fair Trade Gifts. We went to Oktoberfest, North Shasta
Yep.
Alliance. We were generous to have us be there. We had an 11-year-old who spearheaded a raffle for them. And that little fella is just dynamite. And he said to me, I thought I couldn't help you because I was going to be too young. I said, no way, you come right along.
Yeah.
We're with you.
Yeah. Great. Other ways to find talent. Remember that there's a big, and I don't know if Michelle's going to get there, we always push on the art community and how artists need to be paid more or anything at all. So this group is a great way to find that mixture between finding a good photographer, finding an artist, finding a designer. James?
Friends, family, and Fiverr.
Yeah, Fiverr. Absolutely.
I've definitely had to pull a logo design or something for an MVP, and it's, it's quick and easy, and I could get 10 of them. for not a lot of money, and then pick from that.
Yep. Yep. Michelle, and then we'll go to the next one.
Friends, family, and a lightning jar.
Hey-o. How about that?
You got people.
I was reading something today. I was reading something from a state-to-state person that was still debating on moving up here. He said, I could go to Manchester, nothing bad about Manchester, but I could go to Manchester and I think the tourism market's there stronger. Or, Matt, I could go to Bennington where I know there are so many resources for small businesses, and that's the first time I've actually heard somebody speak positively about the resources available. But they were so, when they moved, and they were from Yonkers, New York, and they said, Bennington has a slew of resources. It's amazing. So I could go to Manchester or I could go to Bennington where I know I'd actually, so you could go to both and use both. But I think just want to encourage those of you offering services that it is getting noticed. Okay, we're going to blast through this next part because I do want to get to some talking. If I took over your business for a year, here are the 4 things I would focus on with you. Public relations, smart, specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, time-bound, paid advertising. Advertising's not bad. Buying a thing in the banner isn't bad, especially in the way that we're kind of transitioning very slowly in southern Vermont. I think it's still well worth it in some of the magazines and stuff, but it has to be really smart, really contextual. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Inbound marketing, we'll spend some time on that, and that's the whole social media and digital. What it is pretty much saying for 150 years we did outbound. We bought ads. We pushed messaging on top of people. We had New York Times cover stories. We did press releases, but we pushed it as opposed to what I'm saying is create a lot of good narrative branding content to pull them in. I fall in love with Dara. I watch Dara every morning when she shows me one more defensive move on her Facebook Live. I've now fallen in love with you, and I want to, well, not, in terms of her martial art skills. And but I would find that you've created much more of a narrative for me than, somebody else. And then closing and sales, and I want to talk a little bit about that. All of this, and I do truly mean this, is to position you, I think everybody here is a thought leader. How many have heard that phrase before, thought leader? Couple. Every one of you is really good at what you do right now in your business. You probably are one of the best in your business. It's more about getting your messaging out there. Janica, great cupcakes. You're a thought leader in cupcakes. And you can also take thought leadership and go, you're one of the best in Bennington, probably southwestern Vermont, maybe even Vermont and Mass and New York. How big do we want to, but you can decide that. You can say, I'm good right now just with Bennington. But you're going to do 10 more years of it and you're going to say, I got Vermont. I'm one of the best in Vermont. And you will build up that thought leadership based on all your experience. As Seth Godin says, one whose views are on a subject to be taken with authority and influential. That's what a thought leader is. I think I want you to start to think of yourselves as 2 things. You're the thought leader in your specific industry, in your specific niche, and you also are a publisher, editor. You have control now. You've got to start to believe that. That's the macro of this. Public relations, here's what I would do with your business if I were you. And I think it's all contextual, right? You've got to pick your niche. You've got to find out what your industry is. I would do 1 press release a month. If you're not creating enough noise to create a press release, you're not creating enough noise. Find something to create enough noise about. I think I've become a stronger believer in sponsorship opportunities that help your brand. If I could have positioned my mom, because I used to work for her, sponsorship at an association for training development, and she got 5 minutes with the crowd, because all of a sudden you become the important person at the party. That's all this is. This is high school again, guys. How are you paying you? Are you bringing the case of beer? Because then you're the most important. Are you hosting the party, or are you a wallflower? And the wallflowers, they just kind of go home and say, that party, I don't know how I feel about that party. I mean, no one came up and talked to me. You got to buy your way into the market. So if I could do anything, I probably would have positioned Deb a little bit better with some sponsorship opportunities in her specific niche, training. Again, speaking opportunities. As you become a thought leader, Janica, what cupcake conferences are you going to? What food shows are you presenting at? Are you judging at one of the competitions? Oh, then cakes too. Yeah, good. I just love your cupcakes, I guess. They're just tiny little morsels of goodness. So I think, to that point, are you working with Stratton Magazine? Are you working with some others that say, hey, I'm a valuable asset here. I'm a thought leader in this field. I think face-to-face opportunities are huge. That goes back to a little bit of these things. You're going to build a lot of the narrative that way. So how do we create networking opportunities, these things, doing social learning, face-to-face opportunities? I think partnerships are huge too. You could partner with the chamber on things, hold a mixer. You could speak at one of the things. You could provide a lunch and learn. You could work with Michelle in the lightning jar. There are a huge amount of opportunities and partnerships. I'm amazed that there's over 1,000 businesses in Bennington, and I don't know about you. I don't hear a whole lot of opportunity. Like, no one's coming to me saying, I'd love to teach on financial services. But there's a whole lot of complaining about not enough people coming to financial services. We do a lunch and learn. We do 6 of them. I know you do a bunch of them. I know a bunch of BCRC probably does a couple speaking things. So again, it's the hustle. That's kind of what I'm alluding to, the hustle of it. Promo codes and coupons. I just want to kind of public relations. What's that? And you can take what you like. This one just helps you measure ROI of things. I'm going to get to a little bit with print media as well. And then I think publication, like I said, Stratton Magazine, whatever happens to be your niche, I think you should be reaching out to them. Smart advertising. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. I think you need to make your specific ad about something. It's got to be contextual. It can't just be the gift garden is here on Main Street. Well, we all know the gift garden's here on Main Street. You're offering 20% off on Mother's Day for any mother that comes in and shows us this ad. Now all of a sudden you're getting ROI of print advertising. If no one comes in with that ad, I would imagine, because you've offered a good deal, no one's seen that ad. Defining who is your target market, who are they there? And then kind of the point that I was making before, the regional, local, state, and more. Are you can be a thought leader in the state, you can be local, you can be regional, depends on where you feel like your expertise is at. And then the last little thing gets to budget. I think a lot of people are spending a lot of money on print advertising still in this area. I don't think you have to get rid of it. I just think you have to switch it around from 80-20 to 20-80. Spend 80% on developing content and boosting content, and spend 20% on print. That's my personal theory, philosophy. Some may disagree with it. Let's talk about inbound. And I know I'm running over a little bit, so I know we started a little bit later too. Here's what's happening with that, and everybody has a copy of that. I can send that to you. This is top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. This is when you do kind of the social media things, and I think everybody's taking a little lick at it, a little taste of it, but they don't really know exactly what they're doing. This is the philosophy behind it. This is what it's saying. It's saying when you post on Facebook, when you do Twitter, when you do Instagram, when you do a blog, when you do a video, anything like that, and you post it. That's why I'm not so much worried about the platform. You got to define the platform. That's pretty easy, pretty quick. I think people get stuck like, where? I guess I won't do anything. Well, no, that's not the right answer. Let's find 1 or 2 things where you start. Business people, LinkedIn is huge now. The on-ramp to LinkedIn, both organic and also paid, is huge in the sense that it doesn't cost you a whole lot right now. I think when some bigger businesses realize how much they can buy up of LinkedIn, that'll change, just like Facebook and Instagram is starting to. But anyways, you have your top of the funnel. You're putting out things that get people engaged. They're making you aware. And you can read up here, photographs, blog, video, microsite even. As they interact, they like your page, and somebody had that. How do I convert from liked to something more? They like your page. They're all going back, hopefully at the moment, to your website or walking into your chamber doors or something like that. But let's just say for the most part, the website. But they might be walking into Hawkins' house where you're going to greet them, and they say, I saw that thing on Facebook. You have that jewelry. I want it. Thank you, Jonah. Sign up for our newsletter is a huge one. So newsletter has a lot of retention currently. Then we get here, and that's where people are dinging themselves, and they're saying, I don't know how to convert. Right? I have 2,000 likes. There's this middle of the funnel, which is you got to offer something a little bit more behind some form fields. So it could be a white paper. It could be download a whole 1-hour video with me, Dara, but you got to sign out the form first. And from that, and this is the easy stuff. I think some people go, I don't even know how to upload a video to a website. That's easy enough. Call me. I will find somebody that can do that for you pretty cheaply. That's not the hard part. Creating the content's the perspiration part. And so you do this, and you do this with in all your industries. And I'm happy again after this to kind of sit down and say, Matt, I don't know how to write a white paper on cakes. Oh, I bet we could. There's whole recipe books, but you got a specific recipe. So we're gonna make 5 best Jenica recipes. But you gotta, since you've been following me and you see all the beautiful pictures of the cake, I'm gonna tell you how to make a cake very easily in 5 minutes for your Thanksgiving feast. But you gotta download the white paper or the book or the PowerPoint slide or whatever. Once you start to get that, you start to get these leads that are now more warmed up to you, right? And then the bottom of the funnel. And we're gonna talk a little bit about the bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel would be, let me come to your house. I'll bake a cake for you, right? I'll show you a demo, or come into my shop. I think of what Scott does with the ravioli. Absolutely bottom of the funnel. He probably went like this in 2 minutes on Facebook. Like my page, see some of the ravioli, people talk well about it. Come up to one of my demonstrations. I guarantee you that Scott probably has a conversion rate of like 80% when people go in there and make the spaghetti first. Well, I'm already here, I might as well pick up dinner. Okay, and that took Scott 1 hour of teaching what he already knows because he's the thought leader on ravioli. Not bad. So, look at that. Inbound marketing, focus 80% of your time on this, I said. Commit to a strategy. It's got to take some time to build these reserves up. You got to build belief in people and a narrative brand.
Matt?
Yeah.
With moving folks through to the bottom of the funnel and with things like your ravioli example and even the cake example, how do you balance giving away your brand secrets versus and getting full engagement so that you can close the deal and sell product?
Human nature, two human natures. 99% of people that just learn from Scott aren't going home to make spaghetti every single night for the rest of their lives. I bet he has so much more conversion on people walked out with, then they purchased a jar of spaghetti or a jar of spaghetti sauce, 2 bags, as opposed to, now I have competition because I trained this one. No, we're humans. I want to go learn something new. I want it to be experiential. I want to be able to tell my family the ravioli you're having tonight came from my hands. And then I want to buy some of the stuff so I don't have to do it myself because I'm busy and I have another job. So I think I would double down, triple down on that. Yeah, and I think we're going to get to a little bit. It's a bigger philosophy called give, ask. Or some people know it as jab, 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 right hook, which is give. Follow up. Send a coupon. Send a bottle of wine. Heard it was your birthday. Here's a gift. Da-da-da-da. Come learn how to make ravioli. Keep the ravioli you make for free. I don't care. Then ask, hey, since you've been a good supporter, a good customer for the last couple months, years, could you come in? We're doing a buy one get one sale. We'd love to have you come in as a dedicated customer. I think who did this very well, probably before her time, was Lindy Lynch at Kevin's. Come in for a meal, give all our referral people a meal, hand out coupons, come in 2-for-1 special, and she brought that brand allegiance, or bought that brand allegiance, not through money, technically, but through other things. Again, I can speak more to this. I do want to provide some time for us to do some talking. The last point that I would take over, as we were kind of going through the 4 things I would take over, is the sell. One of the things I find that is happening in businesses that follow through with this, including myself, if I could again go back in time, I would do this harder, figure out how to do this better. We get them there, we got warm leads all over the place. They love the cupcakes, but we're never asking, we're never closing, we're never doing the sell to them. If you ask enough, or if you give enough, you'll be in good stead to ask. That makes sense. And I talk a little bit about it here. When you believe in your product and service, you're not selling, you're helping. Hey, I thought I could provide a service. Key example, and I've done this a couple times now, and I'll give up a little bit of the chamber secret. So we've just started our sponsorship program, a really aggressive sponsorship program. And one, I've hopefully created a lot of other things that they believe in and that the chamber is doing. And then when I meet with some of our larger sponsors for the annual dinner or Garlic Fest, I said, I think Carbone, if you park a truck on Garlic Fest and there's 14,000 people and they walk by your new Tundra and you do a sign up either to win the truck or win a TV or win something, not a truck, you would have so much. And we saw that work with John Ray and Sons. John Ray, I think this market's huge for you. It's families, they're buying fuel, come set up a booth, come set up a tent, and they were giving away, I think, a fireplace. So again, it coordinated with their brand a little bit, and they were giving away a fireplace. I think they got like 2,000 leads out of that. It's huge for them. So again, find out where you're helping, position it, and that's what helps. I hate selling. I'm really, really bad at selling. I'm really, really good at helping people. So I just shift the algorithm in my brain. I'm not selling you, I'm helping you.
I think that's where I got to make the shift here, because I am helping people.
You are, absolutely.
So I've got to make that shift and really make, that's what I'm good at, is
Yep.
helping people.
Absolutely. And let's connect and talk about that. Here's a way to construct your thoughts, kind of what we've talked about. This is the kind of the bigger conclusion. People, we talked about people. Who are your customers? Do you have the right people in-house who's creating content? Are you learning? Are you being an ongoing learner? The objectives. Do we have clear objectives? What do we want to, is it the ROI that we want to measure? Is it how many new people we have signed up for a class? What are the things we're actually measuring? What is the strategy? What is the plan? Again, I can help you with this. And but my promise comes with a contingency. If we structure it, then we're not talking about that again. Because we spend a lot of time on, can I, should I? No. If we build that plan, then it's about execution for a year. And just keep doing it. If you post a blog on your website, you will see 400% increase in 2 years. That's a statistic that came out from Harvard Business Review. You got to post frequently. You got to be contextual. Has to be something. You've got to have an audience. You got to build that audience. Like I said, you got to go from Facebook. You got to convert them on Facebook. Get them to your website. Oh, nice blogs here. I'm going to subscribe to the newsletter. They put out a weekly newsletter. I want to read more about that. 400% conversion on your website, and that's the start. And then we start to think about how do we want to have those people dig into your website. The last piece is technology. So it's not the first piece, it's the last piece. What tech or media fits my plan? I think flip the equation and say, what content helps my message? Then I'll go find the platform that does that best. Is video really good for you? Is video cooking really good? Probably. I would probably do it on Instagram, and I would do it on, because Instagram is so image heavy and image artistically positioned, and I would do it on YouTube. You know, Facebook is a third, but you're doing that just because it's the big behemoth in the room. I want to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to cover. I'll leave you with this. What you're asking for, what you came here asking for, and you may not have even asked it. You're not asking for marketing tips. You're not asking for how to write a blog. You're asking for attention. You just want to have more attention than the other person that's in your competition. The person with the most attention wins. It's that high school party again. The person that has the most attention is the most popular. Attention is the asset. Executing against it will help you win. How do you execute against that attention? Okay, so now we have a good, and here are some of the resources, again, all in your PowerPoints. I want to see if any of you actually took me up on my texting offer. I don't see anybody yet. So we're just going to, hopefully we have enough bold people here that, and we're going to pass around the mic too, because Michael Cutler is recording for Cat TV and for the economic project. So if you do have a question, again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but this is a solid time. You know, we started about 10 after, so we have another 15 minutes that ask me. And social learning, if you have an answer, if you've done something well, working with Grace Christian, shout it out. We're here to help each other. Who has a question? Yeah, Stephanie.
We seem to talk a lot about our customer base being the public. Could you speak a little bit to reaching other businesses if they are our clients?
And what's your business?
I run an information consultancy. I do knowledge management for nonprofits.
Okay, knowledge management. IT or just?
Like using lean methodology for human capital.
Great. So, for nonprofits. So, and are you locally, is your market locally, regionally? And when I say regional, I mean capital region?
I would say regional New England.
Good, good. You were kind of in my market before I got into the chamber world, which was knowledge, sharing it regionally, and trying to get attention. I would start by blogging, and here are two things that happen when you blog. And blogging is journaling, is writing, 3-4 paragraphs now. It's not what it used to be. Blogging, I would do it weekly at first. I would do 52 blogs. Two things happen. One, Google loves the text, so it eats up the text. When you position it with some pictures, make sure you tag the pictures with the right line so people know. The other thing happens, you get smarter at your job when you blog. Because guess what happened? When humans write, they get smarter at what they do. You have to go research. I mean, you think and you probably know 80% solidly, I could say this 80%, but the 20% I gotta go figure out. What was that stat about knowledge in nonprofits about how that converts to millennials? I'm gonna have to go look that up. So you get extremely, and we deployed this for 6 years at our leadership firm, and our consultants and trainers actually got better at their job. They got better at teaching this stuff too. So what blogging also does, helps you when you're sitting down with a client and you have to convert. Well, how do you know? I say, well, I got 3 videos here I want to share with you in my email, and then I'm going to send you a blog, and I'm going to keep warming you up to. They go, you're the thought leader in this. You've proven by your blog, your white papers, and your video. So I would focus on the content, the blogging. Not a bad idea to do some video. I would spend more time on LinkedIn than Facebook, and I would even deploy a little bit on LinkedIn and figure out cost of boosting some of that stuff too.
Okay, thank you.
Others? James and then Jonah.
So if I have a variety of marketing personas that I'm trying to appeal to, and they consume information in diverse ways, and certain types of posts or certain types of content will endear me to one marketing persona, but alienate me to another, how do I navigate that if I'm pushing it out there to everybody?
Let me answer the larger question there, I hope. And then Jonah, yeah. One is diverse. It's the contextual stuff I was talking about. Right now, most radio, television, big stores are doing some vanilla advertising. They can because you already know CocaCola. So they appeal to the masses. Everybody loves Coke. Whereas, and we were just talking about with the stay-to-stay program before, that I'd rather build, I know a lot of people are from Colorado. We've had 2 convert from Colorado. We have many more interested in Colorado. Colorado right now is very expensive to live in. Very expensive to live in, to eat in, to ski in, and it's getting very, very busy. We're very, very similar over here in New England, except it doesn't cost a lot to live here. It's not very busy here. You can get on the mountain and get off. So what I want to do is build ads targeted at only Coloradians and do a Facebook video for 2 minutes. Hey, Coloradians, getting a little busy over there? Are you spending a lot of money on gas and living? Come on over here. So I would say contextualize. So first, I think one of your things was they're competing. There's some friction between your demographics. The first answer I would provide you is attack each one of those demographics separately. Okay. So I would diversify your content. And so James, if you're making 5 videos a day, but each 5 is like, hi, carbon fiber people, hi, mixologist, hi, and I would deploy those. And then I would have to think a little bit more about the deeper question that you had, but at least from the top level, you could say Facebook or LinkedIn target all fabricators between the ages of this and this, and then deploy my specific message. You know how much conversion you'd get if it wasn't like, hi, I'm James, and I have this shop, please come, versus, hi, specific people in a specific industry, I'm talking to you, and here's 3 things you need to know. Go to my website and find out. Well, now I feel as a human, I have to know if you're talking to me as a chamber director, and you say, hey, all chamber directors need to know these 3 things. But you have to go to my website, download the white paper. There's your top funnel, middle funnel.
I think what you're saying is, in my strategy, split it up so that the appropriate content appears to that marketing persona only.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And whether that's cross.
That's why I say, and to be honest with you guys, we are not there at all with the chamber yet. I mean, we've started to do the blogging, and we have Charisse writing the articles, we have some videos, we have a lot of photography. I'm talking, we need to do 10 times more in content development, because what I should be doing is, hey, Coloradians, you want to come to Stay to Stay? Hey, Floridians, you want to come to Stay to Stay? Hey, so on and so forth, and I should be deploying that. And if it's not just for Stay to Stay, for tourism, and I should find things that people are looking for in a New Jersey. You can't even get to the store to shop this holiday season? Check out Hawkins, and I should be deploying against that. You want to get your mom something nice? Come up here. Jonah.
I had a question and an observation.
Okay.
And the question is, we have used email marketing for, well, 10 years, and we pay attention to our subject lines and our open rates and our bounce rates. But what we have been noticing is that on the client side, especially people that use Gmail or online services like that, they do an excellent job of filtering out even opted-in emails that we're blasting out. We have like over 5,000 email lists, or even more for some of our segments, and more are never getting seen because the client-side email programs are just filtering them out before they even get a chance to look at that creatively crafted subject line we've done. So one question is, like, how do you tip that back? We know it's still important, but it seems like that's a hard thing to fight against. The observation I wanted to make, and this is a pitch for print, in the sense that direct mail is still effective for our second generation 40-year-old business. In particular, the every door direct mail, which gets cost per household down to about 17 cents a piece. You combine that with inexpensive printing costs, you're talking about 25 cents to get to a household. And then the challenge there is a concisely designed piece. So as they're taking it out of their mail and putting it in their recycling bin, you have that brief moment to perhaps catch them with your service or product. And that still seems effective because of that every door direct mail pricing. It's not effective when you're paying a postage stamp or a postcard stamp. So I wanted to throw that into the mix.
So let me answer the last one first and the first one last. In terms of direct mail, I think it would be really fun, Jonah, to segment out some of those direct mails and say, these 100 people in this one street come to the Hawkins house either for a deal or I just want to thank you for being a customer. Come and have some cheese and wine on this Friday. Then this, and it would just be interesting, just from a you and I are testers, so I would love to test the theory and go, wouldn't it be really neat to just say, all Pleasant Street, your party at the Hawkins house is this Friday. All Main Street, your party at the Hawkins house, and then all of a sudden you got 52 weeks. And that's, so when you're starting to look at marketing and budget and you're putting, I don't know, 5,000, 2,000 into just print, some of that 1,000 has to go buy the wine and cheese for the party. But that, to me, if I got 5 or 6 or 20 people to come and they're engaged, and not only are they engaged to buy the product, Jonah, invited me, and it's a Pleasant Street party. So it's that modernization of using that, of trying to find the direct mail piece, and I think still going back to bring this coupon in. So that I can see, and I don't care if it's 10 or 15% because everybody loves a deal. So you don't have to take too much off the top level to see, wow, what was my conversion? And equally, I would deploy that similar ad on Facebook with as much money that you put on direct into that and see what your conversion rate was. And if all of a sudden you said, hey, we're great, direct mail is still good, it gets me here, but holy shit, it gets me up here for Facebook. I don't know. It would just be kind of fun to test that. The other part was the newsletter. Newsletters are going down, emails going down, and that's quite historically accurate when you look at TV, or you look at radio, or you look at email, which is now 20, 30 years, I think, in its prime. So a couple things that I would encourage you to do: keep doing the newsletter, maybe less frequency, maybe more contextual, segment your lists. I would also try and find, I think what's working very well, and I haven't fully explored this yet, but I'm interested too. You can create pixels on your website, which capture the data of everybody that visits your website, and then administer it into Facebook advertising. So if anybody has ever touched your website, I'm sure it has something to do with the IP address. It captures that, finds them on Facebook, and then you can deploy against that. So they've already touched Hawkins House. They already know Hawkins House, and now I'm doubling down on Facebook. I think the other thing to take a look at is, and I used to be able to do this, I'm not sure, sometimes you can export that list, Jonah, of the 5,000 and import it into Facebook as friends, become friends with those people and invite them to your page. We originally did that many, many years ago. I'd have to go look and see if that's possible again. Jim.
I think Jonah's, back to your point about the sell and trying to close a deal at the very end. Sorry, Jonah. Yeah, and about the sell and trying to close a deal at the very end. I think Jonah's business is a very, very good one to use as an example like this, in that I only walk into Jonah's business when I have a problem. I have to.
You have to find something for your
I have to find
girlfriend
something
or yeah.
for somebody, and he's not selling me something; he's helping me. Right, and I once did some consulting for a guy that sold used motorcycles, and what he said is he oftentimes had trouble closing the deal, and he would just turn to the person and say, "Listen, you're here to buy a motorcycle. I sell motorcycles. Can't we figure this out? I mean, we should be able to figure this out." And it's kind of, if you think about the sell as a help, as you were saying, you did that little flip in your mind. That's actually the appropriate flip.
Right.
Don't try to sell. Try to help.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, and here's, let me take the gloves off a little bit at this point, and I don't mean this derogatorily or to all chamber members or any business. I think one of the key assets that we have as small businesses in Vermont, and specifically Southern Vermont, is that people are coming here for an experience when they do come here and shop. That's why they're going into your brick and mortar stores. So you have to provide not only good customer service, you have to provide world-renowned customer service, because when I come to Vermont, my vision of Vermont is here. I think some of the feedback we've gotten over the last 3 years of me being a chamber director is my experience when I walk into those shops is here. I don't know the complete answer to that. I do know many of you filled out the chamber membership survey. One of the biggest things, according to currently the chamber membership survey, they want customer service training. So, Jonah and Shannon, we got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to offer customer service training. And that can be everything from how do I sell Vermont, because there's training courses on that, which a lot of our Welcome Center people go through, and how do I help with that? And how do I, if I were serving cakes and cupcakes and wine and doing pottery stuff, I also have to be pleasant to work with. And I think that's sometimes, and what we've heard from some transplant people that have moved from outside of Vermont into Vermont and want to make Vermont their home, that's one of the hardest barriers. And when you already have a hard barrier like Amazon or Albany or the bypass, the last thing you need to do is put bad customer service on top of all that. Heather, you had a...
Well, that's one of the things, and that was my part about, like, how do you handle all of the...
Just point it to her.
You know, you're on all these social media platforms. I mean, our thing with bringing Vermont, and the reason that we tend to keep customers when they come in is because of how we make them feel. Well, that extends to social media. We still have to have that touch. They still want to be comforted. They want to be answered. They want to be interacted with. I'm one person. My husband's one person. Our kids...
Doing a lot.
Right? Like, there are 6 of us. There are 6 assets, and that's fantastic. But we have a very specific touch.
Yep.
I can't necessarily get employees who will replicate that touch how our family will do that. Our whole cornerstone is that we're this family-run business.
Yep.
Yes, but part of that rub is we are only 6 people. So when you're exponentially out there, right, you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook and you've got people instant messaging you and emailing you and going to your website and sending you an inquiry and all this stuff, I would love to know from other people, how do you handle that? How do you prioritize so that that experience, when they came in my brick and mortar and we greeted them and we made them feel like they were at grandma's and we made them want to reach out and engage with us again, right? I handle so many people per day, but they all go home to wherever they're from, and then I have thousands of other additional interactions. I need to be able to continue that relationship with them, or all of that work that I did when they came in, which was genuine, is then lost, because then they're like, oh, well, they don't follow up, or they don't, you know, I don't feel that warm fuzzy. They're not taking care of me anymore. Grandma wouldn't have made me wait 3 days to answer my question, right? Like, how do other people handle that?
Yeah. Anybody want to take a crack at that first? Kayla?
That was my part of control and time. I can't emphasize enough, your reputation has to, and I mean, it's a challenge, but it's also something I will not compromise on, is I would rather not respond than have someone put something out there for me that's not a reflection of what I believe. So, I mean, there are tools too, but
and I think Heather, you know, is talking about a bigger problem, which Heather and I have talked about, which is finding qualified workers to work here. I think James is somewhat right with the policy part. I think there's a belief. Training, sure, absolutely. So I think there's a start there. In terms of follow-up, I mean, I think of your business, Heather, and I'm like, what if you did come in, sign up for our newsletter, it's 1 hour a month, and we'll give a free t-shirt or a free trinket, find the cheapest trinket, Because what's that lead cost you? If your trinket at market value costs you 5 cents or 10 cents or $1, and that lead where you would normally, however you would calculate your lead that then signs up for the newsletter. But if you said, the Bring You Vermont is handing out a Vermont t-shirt to anybody that signs up for our newsletter between these 2 hours. Come and sign up. You're going to get a swath of people. Have fun with it. And I think that's part of, again, the marketing budget. Like, well, Matt, how do I buy all those t-shirts, or how do I buy the trinket? And I said, stop buying as many print ads and start putting it towards that, because we know that people are going by print ads or bulletins or billboards, and people want an experiential. So if I start creating more and more fun, and you and Ryan do that very well, and I think Nick Monty does that pretty well. I mean, Nick Monty's here's an 80-year-old guy that still makes Reese's Pieces this big and has Friday fun night. I mean, he's got it. And so I think if some of you are looking at this going, how the heck do I do it? I'd walk into the Village Chocolate Shop and say, Nick, how do you do it? He goes, every Friday night, I go on Google and I find out what is cool elsewhere in the world, and then I try and replicate it here, and that's probably all he does. But I think it's some of that conversion factor. And then what you do is, from that conversion, whether they signed up, or I've gone to conferences where they have to see that you downloaded their app, but it could be, show me that you liked our Facebook page, and either you're entered into a raffle, or we give out a free t-shirt, or we give out a trinket. You don't even have to give out a trinket. A lot of people are willing to enter a raffle to like a page. So anybody that walks into this, we give out one free product once a month to anybody on our page, but enter to win the raffle here. Something like that.
So another piece, and I don't know if maybe this didn't come across, is like, say on Facebook, okay, I do my daily morning post, whatever, and then somebody's like, are you going to have eclairs soon, right? So then they ask me a question at 3 minutes after I do the post. So then I respond to that, and then 4 minutes after that, it's, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, it's literally like this full-time job.
Yep.
And then in the meantime, somebody, we have 2 businesses obviously, but meantime, somebody at the pizza, and this killed me, it happens all the time, they will order pizza from a different pizza place.
And then
the order will get screwed up or not show up or be bad or whatever the deal is, and then they will be blasting us on social media. And I know for a fact they did not come into our pizza place. It's not us. So I have to respond. I don't trash the. I always will take the high road. Period. But I'm like, perhaps you are mistaken. That it was.
Look back through our register. We did not see you come in tonight. We have the same policy at the chamber, which is do not engage, do not go down to that level, but you answer misinformation.
Right.
And I think we did that for the first year and a half. And I have to be honest, that we haven't had a whole lot of stuff happen in the last year. I think it's because when we shone a light, we told the truth, and also rely on your community too. So you do have that wealth, that support of community, whether that be Facebook likes, but I think it even converts to more humanity. I mean, I think you got a lot of people that love your 2 stores that you kind of say, I answer misinformation every single time I see it. And I think everybody that's actually your customer, remember that there's going to be 80% or there's going to be 20% that just say you're horrible, blah, 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 and they never buy a product from you. And so I would say, I don't care. You don't buy a product anyways. You don't buy a pizza anyways. What I have to do is make sure that and this is why the chamber took that role, was not to convince some of the naysayers in the town or in the community trying to convince change their mind. I did it for the 1,000 people that were fans of the chamber to know that wasn't true. So I would just say, looked at our receipts, I was here all night, you didn't come in, that must have been another pizza. Hey, want to offer you a 20% discount to come into our place and try us out for a try. I think you're right, Heather, about the time that it's needed to do the response. That's something you're going to have to set as a priority, or work with an SVC intern, which I know a couple people have. Hire somebody. I mean, that's part of it, is if you're starting, find that gap where you can actually allocate some monies to somebody that would be willing to do that. And Kayla, you look like you have.
I have a very active Facebook group that requires a ton of immediate response, and doesn't always work. So what I have are some really great champions that I am able to show them my appreciation back, and they like being on Facebook anyway. And so anyway, if you find people that are like always willing to got your back, show them your appreciation, do a little thing.
Yep.
Yeah, outsourcing a little bit creatively.
Well, and you just gave me an idea, Heather, and maybe it wouldn't work for you. I don't know if you want to. It's a little bit about opening Pandora's box, but I think sometimes the chamber has more of a Pandora's box than that. But having a 30-minute show, be it here, you can call in, or you can text, or you can leave a comment on our Facebook page if you've ever had a question or concern about the Chamber of Commerce, and then I would sit there and read each one of them and provide you my executive director response to that. Maybe like, guys, and here's the authenticity and truth part. We're running a pizza shop and a gift place. Like, I don't have time to sit down. So you know what, guys, what I will commit to this community is I'm going to sit down 30 minutes on Friday at our least busiest time, and I'm going to do a Facebook Live if you have questions. Please write in, and I will try and answer your questions then. I didn't like the pizza. Well, you know, and then you answer it there. I don't know if you want to open up. That's going to take some brass. But you might be able to, and that might be able to just say, hey, I'm doing the best I can, but you also know that we're running 2 stores. So what I can do for my community, it's boundary management. You do not owe anybody anything. You are an entrepreneur, you are a small business, you are trying to help a need, and you can set your own boundaries. We open, it's interesting, we open from great boundary. We understand that boundary because it's been there for 200 years. What you want to do with bad customers, difficult customers, you know, again, you can set up some boundaries around that as well. I think that that's another play to have if we want to get off a little bit of social media marketing. Bennington, at least, and probably the region, is notorious for opening up between 9 and 5. Guess who works between 9 and 5? Probably everybody in this room for the most part. So it'd be interesting to see one business pivot from 12 to 8. Just one. I'd love to see if all of a sudden they just, like, if you can run by Henry's, you know, I guess Henry's is open till 7, and you guys are open late. We've even seen that happen within this culture. I mean, I think when I first got here, it was a strict 9 to 5, and I think we've just seen, and I think you guys taking over that store and the coffee shop, it's pivoted to more like, I guess 7 and 8. And before you know it, if there's more people here, the Putnam project gets built, that provides more downtown, you're going to have to start to figure out, oh boy, how are we open 9 to 11, 12? Because there's that demand, that need.
I just want to comment that I think a really large part of my job, and I'm a realtor, is managing people's expectations. Their expectations of what they're going to find in a new home, what they're going to find in this area, what they're going to love about it, what some of the still existing needs are. You know, what are the needs? And I think that we do know that there's a lack of skilled and trained employees. I think that there's a huge shortage there. And so I think that there's such a cross opportunity between businesses having great services. And I literally had a client yesterday who said that your store was not able to serve them, but they had such a great experience with your husband that they're going to be coming back to shop at your store next time they're in town. He sent them down to another restaurant that they had a great experience in. So I think that there's an opportunity for all of the local businesses to give great customer service for people to want to move here, and then we'll have more people to employ, so that as there's a pivot that happens where you have to spend more of your time on Facebook and Instagram and responding to things, you'll have more time because you'll have a better trained workforce to be able to manage the brick and mortar. Because I think there is such a shift. So much of my time is taken up through emails and responding to leads online. It's not as much face-to-face as it was even 7 years ago when I started. So it is about adapting and understanding how we can help each other.
Yeah, and I think, not to get off topic, you've got the people in this room, you probably have over 1,000 businesses, at least in the region, if not Bennington alone. Anybody calling their legislature up? You got a whole new slate. I'd be making that priority number 1. You already know, I know, because I keep surveying all of you, and you keep telling me qualified workers is number 1 problem. So I don't know, I guess what I would employ all of you is to walk out of here and say, what's Mary Morrissey's number? What's Chris Bates' number? Who are my representatives? Who are my senators? What's Brian's number? And if that is, because I agree with you, Heather, and you and I have had offline conversations, that is the coming, if it hasn't already come, it'll only get worse, the coming issue that we have. And taking advantage of the chamber and our offering and services and supporting things like Stay to Stay. We have 10 people moving to the region because of Stay to Stay, and that was a pilot program done with a little bit of money. So how do we expand upon that, and how do we find other tools? I think also, and I love Bennington and I love the region for this, sometimes we don't always get into the mix of politics because I think we've become very much like Superman's not coming to save me mode. And I think it's probably a partnership of that. What can we force? What can we help? Where can we get help from the state? What is this blue collar town going to do for itself? And we've seen that happen. And I think we've seen that with the parks being built. We've seen that with the Putnam project. We've seen that with new businesses like Heather's coming in and Brian Darr and that sort of thing, kind of really transforming it. Other questions?
I just wanted to make a point of one of the things that Jennifer said, and I appreciate it so much, and it's something that we truly believe in, with regard to business. We sort of have this theory that that we can all swim or we can all sink, kind of thing. And there are people that will come in, like everything in our store is actually made in Vermont. So we don't sell T-shirts, we don't sell ball caps, that sort of thing. But there are many businesses that do. And so when someone comes in, they say, do you have Vermont T-shirts? Our answer isn't,